accident, you need a lawyer, and you deserve an advocate. Because every accident has a ripple effect. It affects your time, your health, your ability to make money, everything. That's where the advocates can help. Speaking with an attorney is simple and 100% free. We're available 24/7 for your convenience, and we'll take on the claims process so you can rest easy. Because you're not just a client to us, you're a person, and you deserve the best help you can get. You deserve an advocate.
This is The Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find The Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hey, The Monty Show. Happy January 3rd. It's Friday already, thankfully. The Monty Show is always presented by the Advocates at theadvocates.com. The best injury attorneys in the business when it's one of the worst days of your life. You've been in a car accident. You got hurt at work. Yeah, they are the workman's comp experts at the Advocates. Theadvocates.com, where you never reach into your pocket to scratch a check. In fact, you don't pay the Advocates unless and until they win your case at theadvocates.com. Make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show. Not really sure where to start here. Not sure how I feel about the Notre Dame performance last night. According to Kirby Smart, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish cheated their way to a win on a play that did not determine the outcome of the game. So not really sure how to feel about the Catholics cheating, Jake.
Well, you won the ball game, so that's what matters. At least we don't have to talk about another Brian Kelly, coming up short choke job.
Notre Dame won last night, and I am pleasantly surprised. I would like to thank all the nuns and priests and bishops and deacons out there that prayed their prayed their best. God bless. You did a great job, hating the sin and loving the sinner. Those are all the
God's name, image, and
euphemisms that I can come up with. The Catholics pulled it out last night. And
whoa, dude, this is a family program.
Yeah. The Catholics pulled it out last night. You're a sicko. Now we get the Fighting Sandusky's in the Orange Bowl. Surprised that Notre Dame won. I truly am.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I was a little bit surprised that, Georgia just made mistakes that are uncharacteristic of Kirby Smart football teams. I mean, everything from the little stuff in the blocking game and, the small things that they do at a really high level typically to just seemingly getting caught off guard. I think there were a couple times in that game where, Notre Dame had them on their heels and took advantage of it. And I think that's what was so surprising to me. I mean, early in this game, you felt like the Notre Dame defense was really, suffocating Georgia, getting after Gunnar Stockton, doing what they do. And I wasn't really surprised about that side of it. But what I was really surprised about is that, Riley Leonard has this, super pedestrian game on the stat sheet. I mean, that's putting it nicely. And somehow, some way, Riley Leonard in this ball game finds a way to make enough plays to win the game. And again, he took shots down the field. Now they didn't connect on a lot of those, but I give them a lot of credit for being aggressive against this Georgia team. I feel like a lot of teams would have come in. They probably would have been, a little bit intimidated, a little bit like, hey, this is the SEC, this is Georgia. These guys are probably the best team in the country. What are we going to do to beat these guys? And Notre Dame just simply said, hey, we know what our strengths are. We know what our weaknesses are. And we're going to attack Georgia down the field. We're going to make Georgia stop us that way. We're not going to sit here and just try to run the football into a Georgia front that's, I think they said had like 70 pounds on you. I just think Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman embraced who they were in this game, and that's ultimately why they wind up being successful.
Yeah, and I think there's no question that Marcus Freeman has matriculated down the field as a coach. I mean, if you look at the way that he called this game, you look at the way that he had his defense ready. I thought the play where all 11 substituted, which we're going to get into in a minute, really showed a maturity from Marcus Freeman that we have not seen very often in his brief tenure as the head coach at Notre Dame. It's important. I have sat here on the show. I have criticized Marcus Freeman. We joke about his inability to count past 10. This was a performance by Marcus Freeman where we saw development, growth, mental development as a football coach, schematic development as a defensive coordinator. We saw a really good game plan, a really well thought out game plan. We saw really good in-game halftime adjustments defensively. And for everything that this club certainly was not offensively, because I think what we talked about before the game yesterday, Riley Leonard was not going to win you this game. When you throw for 90 total yards in a game, you don't have a quarterback. And what Notre Dame has is a running back at quarterback. I think everybody who watched that game agrees with it. But now what Notre Dame does have, apparently, is a coach who is capable of game planning and beating teams that are significantly better than his team. And I think that's what I really take away from this Notre Dame win. Notre Dame, in my opinion, had no business beating Georgia.
Right.
Georgia last night was one of the most flawed football teams I think I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you explain that this football team led the SEC in drop passes and had big drops last night. I don't know how you explain Kirby Smart losing his wig after the game about that 11-on-11 substitution. If you didn't see it, it was a 4th and 1. Notre Dame brought on the punt team. They stood there, waited until the 23-second mark, which is how much time they felt like they needed. They ran the entire special teams unit off the field, ran their offense back on with zero intention of snapping that football. Let's get this very clear, Kirby. The only way Notre Dame snaps that football is if Georgia jumps offside, which is exactly what Georgia did. They snap the football. Riley Leonard throws a ball downfield that's incomplete. It's a first down for Notre Dame. It is really smart. The play design, the X's and O's. And for those of you who don't know, because apparently Kirby doesn't know, once the center engages with the football, you cannot substitute all 11. The center, if you go back and watch the play, and it's on my Twitter feed, the center never touches the football. He never gets into a stance. He quite literally is standing upright over the football. And as soon as the official backs away to signal that the ball is eligible to be put in play, the entire 11-man special teams unit of Notre Dame runs off the field. It is exactly the execution that you need if you are going to win a championship. The only problem with that is nobody told Kirby Smart that, hey, this isn't the SEC, it's the college football playoff.
And they run the punt team off. Was there a thought to call a timeout there? I know you guys are down.
Yeah, didn't want to because they were going. That's what they wanted. They wanted us to burn a timeout there and try to do it, and then we subbed. So it's really unfortunate because I've been told by our head of officials in the SEC that you can't do that. You can't run 11 on 11 off. We did it in 2017 against Tennessee. We've carried that. We practiced that and repped that because teams try to do it, and we were told by officials you could not do that. And so we were trying to say you couldn't do it. We got our defense out there. We were fine. I mean, I would have gone for it if I was them. So I don't think they were planning on going for it. They were going to hard count us, and we prepare for that. We do it every week, and we jumped off sides, But we also were told you couldn't do that in our league.
Poor Kirby. How dare the SEC officials mislead good old Curb, Mr. Visor Guy, Mr. Bull Cut. Kirby, be better than this, dude. Be better than this. You've got to know the rule. And Marcus Freeman knew the rule, and you did not. And it is true that play had nothing to do with them winning the game, in my opinion.
Mm.
The drops, the absolute domination of Notre Dame up front, the absolute inability of Georgia to tackle. Georgia had one of the worst tackling performances that I think we've ever seen.
Yeah, I just think Georgia didn't do any of the little things in the football game that they needed to win, whether it was the missed tackles, whether it was all the drops, whether it was the situational awareness. I mean, I know that, you hear coaches talk about all the time. Hey, like, when we're playing every single week, you're in this flow, you're in this rhythm as a football team. It's Wednesday. Let's say, as an example, hey, it's Wednesday. We know what Wednesday holds for us. We're doing this and we're doing that, and everyone's on the same page, and we have this momentum. And then it's Thursday, Friday, and then obviously Saturday. And we're all ready to go. We're all in this good place mentally. And I think that, yesterday, this Georgia game is a great example of potentially what time off can do. Because I saw a Georgia team that had all the same guys, but didn't play the same football. And I don't know how you explain that. I mean, if you said to me yesterday during the show, hey, who do you think is going to make more mistakes from a coaching standpoint in this game? Do you think, do you think Kirby's going to make more mistakes, or do you think Marcus Freeman's going to make more mistakes? Well, obviously, I would have said Marcus Freeman. Kirby's been here before. Kirby has the experience. This is not a big game for Kirby and the boys. Like, this is not new. Like, the only question mark in this game was whether Gunnar Stockton was going to be able to do his job for his team.
And I thought he did.
Yeah, and that's the insane part, is that we're not talking about Gunnar Stockton throwing 5 picks and handing the game to Notre Dame. We're not talking about, multiple pick sixes or some just awful performance. We're talking about Kirby Smart in Georgia just simply getting, outmatched by Notre Dame.
How do you – and I've watched a lot of championship football games, and I don't believe that I've ever seen a special teams performance as bad as Georgia's special teams performance last night in a championship level football game. That's the worst special teams. And I'm not just talking about the kick return for a touchdown. That was huge, by the way. The inability to kick the ball in bounds. The inability to punt directionally, the inability of your gunners to stay in their lane. So you're giving up 6, 7, 8 extra yards on kick returns.
Right.
I mean, if you go back and look at the kick return for a touchdown that Notre Dame got, again, I'm a diehard Notre Dame fan. I love my Irish. That ball had no business going back for a touchdown. The lanes that were absolutely given up by Georgia, where you had gunners on both sides running next to each other. No spacing, no lane integrity, which is the foundation of good kick coverage.
Yeah.
Just running down there like they've never done it before. I don't think I've ever seen a less execution on special teams in a championship game than I saw. I don't think that I've ever seen an offensive line just simply not block the most important defender on the defense. Like, I don't know how you are not chipping and doubling Junior Tui Halamaka. The guy absolutely ate your booty for dinner, man.
Yeah.
Like, he ran you. Open absolutely dominated the left side of that line. Now, again, coming into this game, I think we all knew one of the X factors was Georgia's offensive line has been terrible. You do nothing to handicap that? Nothing to handicap that. That's what I just don't understand. Has Kirby Smart lost his mojo?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not ready to say he's lost his mojo, but what I do think the issue for Kirby is dealing with time off. I mean, I don't know what else you attribute this to, because the Georgia team that dominated Texas earlier in the year is the same football team that showed up yesterday, only they didn't execute, whether it's the offensive line point, whether it's, any of this stuff. Like, man. I mean, you have this pass in the second half.
You're calling that rust?
Yeah, I think so. Well, what else would it be? I mean, a football team of that caliber doesn't just show up and forget how to, essentially, do all the little things they need to do. I mean, I understand if, like, I wouldn't call it rust if it was one guy, right? Like, if one guy has a bad day, that doesn't mean your whole football team's rusty and, like, you guys just weren't plugged in. But we're talking about, like, multiple dudes, like your offensive line as a unit just not getting the job done. Gunnar Stockton running for his life most of the game, right? Like Notre Dame's defense getting after him. You're talking about not being able to run the football at a real high level because you couldn't block correctly when you were trying to run it. You're talking about never in this game did Georgia have the huge play that swung the momentum back towards them? Because I agree with you. This whole subbing out 11 situation, that didn't decide the game, but what did it do? It kept the momentum in Notre Dame's side. It kept the game and the feel and the vibes of the game going Notre Dame's way. And whether it was that play, whether it was the drop by the Georgia wide receiver that hit dude right in the hands.
I cannot
just,
believe
like,
he dropped it.
just-
And then the touchdown pass down the left sideline, he almost dropped too.
Yeah. So, like, whether it's the drops, whether it's the lack of execution, like, I'm not sure I'm ready to say, Kirby lost his mojo, but I am ready to say that Kirby's got to figure out how to accept the college football playoff format. And when you're in your post game and you're complaining that SEC officials told you that this is illegal, but now it's not.
Because it's illegal.
Well, two things, right? Exactly. Two things. Number one, you're not playing SEC football anymore. I got news for you. This isn't a conference game. This is the college football playoff. You're playing Notre Dame. So we're not in SEC play. If that was your take. But,
what have I said about Penn State? Penn State got a free pass to the semifinal.
They did. Yes.
What did Nick Saban say on Pat McAfee yesterday? If you're an Oregon fan, how pissed are you that you had to play Ohio State in your first college football playoff
you don't get to
game?
have it both ways, man.
No, I totally agree with you. That's the system. You put it in place. You wanted to stack the deck. I totally get it. But does it make sense that Oregon's got to play Ohio State right out of the gate and Penn State gets SMU and Boise State free passes?
No, I don't think that makes sense. And I think we got to reform the system a little bit. I actually really love the 12 team format we have currently. I don't know that I would love 16. I definitely don't want to go back to 8 or 4 or whatever. I like 12 teams.
I like 12 too.
I think that it's given us a lot more to talk about. It's given us a lot more runway. We had to do way less, like rankings and who's getting in where. Like, I felt like we only did that for a couple of weeks, which was great. The problem is, though, that this whole conference championship bye week scenario that we have playing out did not work. And again, it's what you always say. It's the unforeseen consequences of doing things like that. If you just said, hey, we're winning your conference doesn't necessarily matter. It's where you're seated. And if you win your conference, maybe we give you some type of advantage. Maybe you're guaranteed, a top 5 seed.
You mean like Texas playing in the semifinal at the Cotton Bowl Classic?
Exactly, right? That's a perfect example, right? Like, Texas now has basically a home game to play Ohio State.
Yeah.
And Ohio State has to go on the road to the Cotton Bowl and try to figure it out. And I just think that, look, it's never going to be perfect. And again, it's easy for Nick Saban to sit there and cry me a river about Oregon fan. But the reality of the situation is that Dan Lanning's got to be better. You didn't show up. Who are you, Kirby Smart? Like, you didn't show up. Like, that's not the system's fault. That's
what is
your
it?
fault,
It
dude.
is. I think I was reading last night, if I remember right, December 7th was the last game that Georgia played.
Yeah.
The Texas SEC championship game.
Yeah.
That's 3 weeks off. That is a long time.
It is.
I would agree. Between sex, drugs, and rock and roll with college athletes, that's a long time.
Yeah.
And when you are Notre Dame and you're having to play and you're having to compete, and now granted, you got to do that at home, and you easily handled Indiana, and then it looked like you pretty easily handled Notre Dame's defense is elite. And I'll say the same thing this morning I said yesterday. The biggest question here is, can Riley Leonard throw the football enough to win games? Against Georgia, you can't turn it over on your 17-yard line or whatever that was, and Riley Leonard's just going to throw a pitch and catch that you could have thrown.
Yeah.
The guy threw for 90 yards and you still won the game. Do you understand that I think they only had 254 or less, 230 yards of offense or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
And they won the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's how good Notre Dame's defense is. And they don't miss tackles. And they get after the quarterback. And Tui Halamaka, I think, was the player of the game last night. I think he was everywhere. I think Jack Kaiser is one of the most underrated linebackers in the country. And Notre Dame made every single play they needed to make. They took advantage of a Georgia team that I think just simply did not respect Notre Dame's offense. And it killed them. It absolutely killed them. And I think when I look at Notre Dame versus Penn State, this is a very similar matchup because as well as Gunnar Stockton played, and I actually thought for his first start in a championship level contest, I actually thought Gunnar Stockton played quite well.
Played really well. It was not a Gunnar Stockton issue.
Yeah, I think that it is. I look at the Fighting Sandusky's, and that game is going to be played in Miami at the Hard Rock. It's the Orange Bowl. I don't know how you don't believe that Notre Dame wins that game. I would heavily believe that Notre Dame wins that game. I mean, I some of the numbers, like you look at the line, the boys in Vegas have Notre Dame as 1.5. I mean, that game's a week from today.
Yeah.
In a quick turnaround for my and we, the beloved Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And the number's only 46.5. Sure, that's an indictment on Riley Leonard. But what have I said about Drew Aller and the Fighting Paternos all year? That's not a prolific offense. What does Notre Dame do really well? They tackle. What does Notre Dame do really well? What did they do really well last night? They stopped the run. What is the only thing you have to fear in that Penn State offense? The tight end. You have linebackers that can run with the tight end, and you have a defensive line and linebackers that tackle exceptionally well. This Penn State offense, I love the matchup. I don't even want to say. I'm hesitating because I don't want to say that out loud.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing you got to be concerned with is that Penn State, obviously they've had a free pass, played some pretty easy teams here, but they did what they had to do. Right, like
you can only play who they put in front of you.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not Penn State's fault, and Penn State dominated the way they should have, suffocated Ginty and company, did exactly what we thought they would do. And to me, the only question is just preparation leading up to the week. That's why shocking games like yesterday happen, where Georgia's just not playing the kind of football we're accustomed to them playing. I would not expect that out of Penn State. I think that Penn State has played football. They're in a perfectly fine place. They're right in time and rhythm with prep and the week and everything like that. So I just think, Notre Dame Penn State's going to be a hell of a lot closer than Notre Dame Georgia was. And that doesn't mean that Penn State's a better team than Georgia. I just think that Penn State mentally as a football team is in a better spot. And again, I think that is the unspoken, adversity in the college football playoff is that, we wind up talking about 11-man substitutions and targeting and officiating and all this stuff. When the reality of the situation is it just comes down to who's in a better spot as a football team and who can play better football.
Well, and obviously Georgia's offensive line was exposed last night. And I think we talked about this again. Yeah. That offensive line has not been good. And you saw what pad level and speed will do to a bad offensive line. Not going to see that with Penn State. Penn State's offensive line is very well coached. Penn State's offensive line is, I think, much better than Georgia. And you see the way that Penn State has been able to run the ball this postseason behind that offensive line with two different running backs. This is a different challenge now. Notre Dame's got to step up. Notre Dame's got to get rest quickly. I think they're only at home for 3 days here. So it's a quick turnaround. I love the matchup for Notre Dame's defense. I think, again, it's going to come down to what do you have with Riley Leonard at quarterback? That's his ability to operate against what's a pretty physical defense. Now we'll see how healthy Penn State's safeties are, but it's a pretty physical defense. And again, the thing that I really worry about is what is the health of the single best player on Notre Dame's offense. And if you look at Jeremiah Love last night, 6 for 19, 6 carries, 19 yards, and he limped off the field with a knee injury.
Not ideal.
Not ideal. Not ideal at all. And you really worry about his ability to impact Penn State's defense. They need Jeremiah Love if they're going to beat Penn State. Again, Riley Leonard's a cool little story, but the bottom line here is Riley Leonard can't play the way he played last night and expect to beat Penn State.
Yeah, I think Notre Dame's path to victory is through the scheme. I mean, Riley Leonard is the ultimate leader of dudes. He is a great leader of the team in that way. But he's not going to go out and win you the ball game. You're going to have to create opportunities for him, and I think that's what's difficult. But ultimately, look, I think that this comes down to, in the bigger picture, that the Big Ten, you have to say it, is positioned here to win a national championship 2 years in a row. And that's, I think, if you're the SEC, you got to start paying attention to that. We're, obviously Michigan last year, and now, Ohio State's got as good a shot as they've ever had to go out and win this. So,
can you believe Texas's fortune of playing in the Cotton Bowl in a semifinal game?
Yeah.
And I say fortune. They earned their spot in the Cotton Bowl. I mean, the way, now the collapse and the terrible play calling, and they won that game. And they're playing in the Cotton. I mean, they're essentially playing down the street from the crib.
Yeah.
Right? Like
it's a home game.
It's a home game for Texas.
Yeah.
Now, the Ohio State, I think, has the most passionate fan base in college football. They travel exceptionally well. I think Ohio State is the best defense Texas has seen, and I'm stoked for that game. That is a week from Saturday.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. I think that could be the game of the year. And there's been a lot of games of the year this year. I think Texas, Ohio State, this is why we play college football.
Yeah.
This is why we have Traeger smokers.
Well, and I think leading up to it, I mean, these teams are.
I said this is why we have Traeger.
It is 100%. If you don't think, if you think people aren't smoking outside of the Cotton Bowl, you're crazy, bro. They're gonna be tailgating that thing.
Are you going to be allowed to come over and watch the game?
If we're home,
probably not. Anyway, the point is, this is why you play college football. What do you always say? This is the two big dogs. This is a huge matchup.
Yeah. The point I was going to make is that, when we look at, home team, road team, the position these two teams are in, you couldn't really ask for better situations. I mean, Ohio State, obviously, does not care where the football game is played. They have a ton of momentum in their football team. They feel really good about their performance. And ultimately, Texas is the team that has the home field advantage, but is ultimately a little bit shaky in how they win football games. And, if you're sitting there in Sark's shoes, I mean, I have to think that, everybody's available. And what I mean is, if Quinn Ewers is going to come out and throws, let's say 2 picks in the first half and doesn't look good and is the Quinn Ewers from the Georgia game earlier this year, then we got to have a conversation. Yeah, go ahead. Sigh your ass off, dude. They're playing for their season.
Bad play call or bad throw? The interception in the fourth quarter.
I think it was a bad play call. Yeah, I don't think you put him in a great spot, ultimately.
I think Quinn Ewers, and I know that you're just an uneducated millennial who has never seen Quinn Ewers play football.
Yeah, I'm stupid. I know. Yeah.
According to the comment section yesterday, you're also illiterate and you can't read.
Right.
But that's neither here nor there.
Right.
Quinn Ewers, I think, has proven himself to be a big game quarterback. Does he have those maddening moments? Yeah, but doesn't every quarterback? And are we going to look at Drew Aller and say that he doesn't have maddening moments? Riley Leonard can't throw a football.
The difference is expectations. Drew Aller doesn't have expectations of being some dynamite quarterback.
Right, but isn't Quinn Ewers a dynamite quarterback?
Yeah, people have expectations.
Say it. You don't want to. And listen, I understand.
Guy,
it's a little.
Sit here and
it's
say
a little puckered and tucked. I get it.
Will Howard over Quinn Ewers.
I said it's a little. Anyway, my point is, he made the plays he had to make. They don't win that game without Quinn Ewers.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Right, the touchdown run, the throw on 4th and 13, his throws in overtime. Quinn Ewers was nails in the game post interception. Now, I don't love the lame duck throw over the middle, but in my opinion, Quinn Ewers is a big game quarterback. The problem is, I think there's a guy on the other side that's just as good of a big game quarterback in Will Howard, who has shown you that the adversity he put on himself in Eugene has only made him a better player. because I think we saw repeatedly when Ohio State was questioned, when they lost somehow to a really flippin' average, below average Michigan team, to lose to that team and then bounce back and win the game and win the games that they've won, it's leadership. And Will Howard is the leader of that offense.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't hurt one iota that your defense is absolutely full of murderers. That defense at Ohio State is unbelievable. But these two quarterbacks are exactly what we need at a big game. There's not a lot of flaws in either of their game. Quinn Ewers isn't the most mobile guy, but damn, didn't we see him run for a really important touchdown? Will Howard's one of the better dual threat quarterbacks at the top of this game right now. This is a big game.
Yeah.
These are big players who love big games. I think this is the game of the year, because I think the winner of this game wins the national championship, because Penn State and Notre Dame both have horrible flaws. What is the major flaw with Texas and Ohio State? I don't know if Ohio State has a real flaw. If they play the way they played against Oregon, if they're that focused, forget it. It's over. Ohio State's the best team in the country.
Yeah, I think that's Ohio State's flaw, is that they're just a little bit inconsistent with how they show up. And they haven't been the last two games. I mean, obviously, they played their ass off. There's no one's questioning that. But I don't think that anybody who watches college football on the regular is just going to forget about, performances like you had against Oregon or Michigan, or just some questionable stuff. So I would agree that, Will Howard finds a way to be a red ass coming into games. And that's what I love about him. I love that he's somebody who ultimately, finds a way to make it personal and finds a way to, get that edge that all great competitors figure out. Hey, what can I do to, take something personal, to really tune myself up and get myself into that, into that mode, into that groove as a quarterback. And when he's there, him combined with Jeremiah Smith making it personal is just a lethal combination that I think we saw the full display of that against Oregon. And, does the time off, affect Oregon? Probably. Yeah, probably. But ultimately, Ohio State can only play who's in front of them. So I love this matchup, obviously. I think that you have to favor Ohio State a bit in this game. But if Ohio State makes, even 2 turnovers in this game, even 1 turnover, and Texas can go down and put 7 on the board,
can't do it.
I think you're going to have a tough time winning.
Cannot do it. And again, it's one of the other interesting storylines that I was thinking about this morning while I was naked in the shower was look at the development of the coaches. That, like, all of the praise I heaped on Marcus Freeman to start this show, should we be saying the same thing about Ryan Day and Chip Kelly? Because that was a completely different game plan. Offensively, that was a completely different game plan than we had seen at any point this season.
Yeah, I mean, I would...
To open up the Ohio State offense like that,
and
get a big run out of Travion was...
Well, and I thought the composure of the team was where it needed to be. I mean, I think Chip Kelly deserves all the credit in the world for that scheme and that game plan, and basically, living up to what Jeremiah Smith said during the week leading up to this game. If you're going to play man, we're going to take a shot. And that's exactly what they did. Every time there was an opportunity, they took a shot. And furthermore, they went out of their way to essentially hide Jeremiah Smith in the route tree to get him open, which is crazy work out of Chip Kelly. And then to have your defense and just have the overall vibe of the team that spot on, it is a testament to Ryan Day, and he deserves all the credit in the world.
To do what Chip Kelly's offense did to a Tosh Lapoy defense, I've never seen that. I've never seen Dan Lanning and Tosh Lapoy are 2 pretty dang good defensive minds.
Yeah.
I've never seen them get done dirty like that.
Well, and the physicality just wasn't there for Oregon.
And but that was a really good offense, and Jim Knowles and that Bucs defense, absolutely every phase of the game. Every phase of the game, Ohio State was prepared. Now, are we saying that Oregon was rusty? No, you got your ass beat. Oregon got beat. I can go with you on Georgia being rusty.
Well, and the difference is that Georgia made mistakes. You could clearly see, hey, like, you're not prepared for this situation, and that happened multiple times. The Oregon performance was just Ohio State's better than you. Like their scheme is in a better place. Like it wasn't like Oregon had all these drops and all these fumbles and like that's not what happened. Like Ohio State just owned you. And I can't remember that ever happening to a Dan Lanning Oregon team. Like typically, if they lose a game, it's they lost by a touchdown. Like they lost to, whoever you want to point to. Like they lost a close game that was super physical, and it was a play here, play there. But the Ohio State game was just pure domination, and it makes me feel like when Ohio State puts their mind to it, they can beat anybody. But I still have doubts. If you come out and you beat Texas by 10 or 14, then I won't have doubts anymore. Then I'll say, okay, hey, you're torching SEC teams now. You're about as dialed in as it can get. But I want to see one final test for Ohio State. Go down to the Cotton Bowl, play your road game, and be that same team. Because anybody can go out to the West Coast and prepare for that and play a neutral site. Neutral site, big game. Make no mistake about it. This is a preparation week filled with, hey, we're going on the road. This is a road game, hostile environment, and it may be 50-50 or 70-30. Road game, hostile environment. It's the Cotton Bowl. Like, we need to be prepared. And if they do that, I think they win the game.
Yeah, I think it is. There is no doubt in my mind, looking at some of these numbers, that I think you absolutely have an advantage. And I love Ohio State in this game. And you know what, D-Rock? I think you might be exactly right. I think Dave finally woke up and allowed his coordinators to do their job. Too many hands were in the pot. And I know we have a lot of Buckeyes on this show.
Yeah, and if that's what it is, that's phenomenal.
I think that you have to allow guys to do their job. And Ryan Day is somebody, in my opinion, that I think he's acutely aware of his shortcomings. How could you not be? And I think when you're going up against Texas, who I think, if you look at these Final Four teams, Notre Dame and Penn State just aren't championship level good. They're not on the same level as Ohio State and Texas. Now, can Penn State or Notre Dame win a national championship right now? Sure they can. Sure they can. Will they? Absolutely not, in my opinion. I think the championship game is Ohio State and Texas, because those two teams are far more talented. Marcus Freeman, while evolving and growing, is simply not on the level that guys like, I think Pete Kwiatkowski, for example, I think he's the best defensive coach in college football. He's got the best defensive roster in college football. You're not beating his defense. They're not going to make mistakes that are going to be lethal. They're not jumping offside like we saw Georgia do, right? They're not just going to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. You go back to like Penn State. James Franklin is an embarrassingly bad football coach in big games. The guy just
facts.
Never mind that he facilitates sexual assault in his football teams, in my opinion, but I just think he's not a very good big game coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I think his teams don't win big games. And I look at Steve Sarkisian, I could say the same thing. Oh, that's right. They just won a big game. And they did it with character and wherewithal, because let's be honest, ASU's not rolling over and dying for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
If you win a game against ASU, you beat ASU. Texas beat ASU. Jahdae Barron chopping the legs out from Cam Scadaboo is exactly what that Texas defense is about. And when they needed stops, they got stops. When they needed to dominate up front, they dominated up front. When they needed to own the red zone, Texas owned the red zone for not 4 quarters, 5 quarters. They owned the red zone. When Quinn Ewers on 4th and 13 had to make a throw, they made the throw. Texas is an elite football team. But again, I'm telling you, and I'll just continue to say this, you're not winning a national championship without one of the 3 to 5 best QBs in the country.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to happen. It just is not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I look at Quinn Ewers. I think Quinn Ewers is one of the 3 to 5 best QBs in the country. I know Will Howard is. And real quick on Will Howard, K-State fan, it's very cute that you want to come in here and say, oh, no, we didn't want Will Howard to leave. Stop. Please.
Come on, guys.
The comment section, and
Dude.
please go read them, because if you need some comedy in your life, go read them. The comment section yesterday on this show, we never forced Will Howard out. Yeah, you did. Yeah, how many? Where were all you hyenas? Oh, we love Will Howard. Now you say that because he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country, operating one of the best offenses in the country, and you've got Avery Johnson, who's none of that. Now, all of a sudden, Will Howard left of his own accord. No, he did not. Okay, I feel bad.
Oh.
Nice try, guys.
Christopher Hooter. Okay. Ohio State won a home game and a rematch, both of which structurally favor them.
What are you talking about?
So wait, now we're finding reason they didn't win a rematch. They beat the hell out of what had been the best team in the country all year.
And the national championship favorite.
Oregon was never in jeopardy of winning that game. Oregon was never in that game. Even after the at the end of the first half, they were never in.
Bro, they dropped 40 on Dan Lanning's defense.
Are
bro.
you out? No, on Tosh Lapoy's defense. One of the elite defensive coordinators in the country, Tosh Lapoy. Are you out of your mind that they won a home game?
How is the Rose Bowl a home game?
And, well, obviously the week before, right? But my point is, I don't care, because Georgia didn't, and Oregon didn't, and all these other teams didn't. And hey, I'll even say Penn State, even though they've gotten an absolute free pass, they didn't lose. They won a home game. Notre Dame beat Indiana. Why aren't we sitting here talking about how crappy Notre Dame is? Oh, because you're not an Ohio State guy. Neither am I, but I know a great rack when I see one. And whatever that sex machine in Columbus is right now, that's one of the best looking football teams I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That's a really good football team. And I don't care if they won a home game or a rematch. I don't care. They beat the hell out of Oregon in a way that I don't know that we've ever seen a Dan Lanning, Tosh Lapoy team lose. We've never seen that. I've never seen it. Now, did they lose like that to Washington, who played for a national championship last year? No, they didn't. Ohio State went to the Rose Bowl and handled their business. And I'm not going to sell them short for that. That's in my opinion right now today, I think they are that much of the best football team in the country. Because I also think Texas is really good. And Golden, you pick who's got the best wide receiver? I don't know
Ohio
either.
State has the best wide receiver. Jeremiah Smith's the best wide receiver in the country. Dude.
Golden is I would tend to agree with you, but I'm telling you now. Did you guys peep the numbers on Texas's offense against a really game Arizona State defense? They ran for 53 yards. No, Texas's offense ran for 53 yards. Sark, you might want to look at that play sheet. You're going to need to run more than 30 times. Matthew Golden, 7 for 149. Gunnar Helm, the best tight end in the country, 3 for 56 and a touchdown. That's it. That's all.
How many passing attempts for Quinn?
20 completions, 20 of 30 attempts. They only ran 60 plays, and they scored 39 points. I said, did you heard what I said, right? They ran 60 offensive plays and scored 39 points. How did you I don't know either. I don't know how they did that because they're really good.
Well, and I also think we have to say this. Like, there was a point where their season was over. Like, let's be real.
Arizona State had the ball for 38. Here, peep this, my friends. Texas scored 39 points. You know that crappy Texas team. They're just Texas. Arizona State had the ball for 38 minutes. Just off the top of your head, how many minutes do you think Texas had the football in that game? How about 22 minutes and 6 seconds? And they scored 39 points. Oh, no, Texas sucks. Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind? That Texas, I'm telling you, this game, it's all I care about. It is going to be amazing.
Back?
I don't know. Is Tanner Plummer here today? Because he's always the guy that he's always the guy that loses his mind over Texas winning. But I'm telling you now, dude, this game is going to be everything that you've ever wanted.
Yeah. And
I would also point out that the Ohio State, 12-2 Ohio State, how did they lose to a crappy Michigan team? I would also point out, it was a rematch and they won at home. And, did you guys peep Ohio State stats in that game? Ohio State had 20 first downs. 20 first. I said 20, not 19, not 20.
Not they one or two or three.
20 first downs, bro. Had 20 first downs. They were 4 of 11. They had, let me get this right. You're only 4 of 11 on third down. You had 16 first downs. It didn't come off of a third down snap.
Yeah, bro.
No, they suck, bro. It was a rematch. They won a home game. No, they dominated Oregon. They dominated.
Yeah, that's an embarrassing loss.
500 yards of total offense on the dot. Ohio State, 500 yards of offense. Oh, bro, it was a rematch. Dan Lanning didn't take a dump before the game. How are they going to win? 500 yards of offense against Tosh Lapoy. Stop making excuses for why Ohio State's elite. Lopes fan Gabe, Happy New Year, you freaking casuals. Now hit the like button, please do. Bailey Dietrich, we played down to their level, Monty. That's what happened. Could be. Could be. UW fan Jim, hello. Sark hates to run the ball. Well, he better run the ball.
Yeah.
Because that
I actually don't think Sark hates to run the ball. I think that they've run the ball really well most of the year. And in that game,
they're down to like their 11th running back.
Yeah, that game you had to pass.
Yeah, I agree. D-Rock Irish. Notre Dame had too many sloppy and undisciplined penalties last night. I'm trying to be objective.
Ain't no reset.
Our offensive line, the left side of the Notre Dame offensive line is terrible. And if Jeremiah Love cannot play a week from tonight, we gone. It's over. This has been a nice little run. But in Oak State James, I hope Oak State James is here. Because D-Rock, you're one of the most knowledgeable Notre Dame guys that comes on this show regularly. Can I just ask, does anybody here really believe that Riley Leonard's a good quarterback? I've got probably 600 notifications on Twitter about Notre Dame in the last 2 days, whatever you want to call it. Oak State James lived up to the brand when he said, I don't know why you're so hard on Riley Leonard. Because he threw for 90 yards last night.
I thought you said 90, like 90, not 900, just
90 yards last night. Is there what? Huh? Which one doesn't belong? Quinn Ewers, Will Howard, Drew Aller, or Riley Leonard? I thought you said, wait a minute.
Running hope.
Did you say Drew Aller's better than Riley Leonard? I did. I said that out loud. Pedo State, Happy Ending Valley has a better quarterback than Notre Dame. Now, no Rick Meyer, no Joe Montana, Rice, any of the other great quarterbacks that Notre Dame has had. Jimmy Clausen. No.
Brady Quinn, come on.
BQ. Riley Leonard. 90 passing yards. 90. Hey. What did I say on the show yesterday, JC?
Yeah,
I made this exact comparison
for a first down at the end of the game.
Oh, Riley Leonard is a great running back. Riley Leonard would be an amazing Taysom Hill.
Buddy needs to be a track star and do hurdles. That's what he needs to do.
Marty, did you see Our guy, Riley Leonard? No, because he's not our guy. He's your guy.
Riley Leonard is first team all try hard.
Lopes Van Gabe, Morty's been telling us since August that our mother is Garbo.
Well,
What have I said all year, though? Our defense is elite, and the beloved just can't offensively.
Because it's garbage.
We can't compete offensively because Riley Leonard is not a guy you want. Who are you? Lamar Jackson is a rookie? Like, he just cannot
Hot ass.
He cannot throw you to a win. Who are you, Alan Bowman? Alan Bowman's a better well, okay, let's not get carried away.
F around and find out.
Alan Bowman's a better thrower of the quarterback, thrower of the football.
Monty, Notre Dame's putting a golden dome on Alan Bowman. You guys are winning the college football playoff.
JC says, sorry, wasn't here yesterday. Don't be sorry. It's a great comparison. The eye patch, hello. Well, Leonard does have a boy. Did I have a conversation with a Utah guy yesterday? Well, Leonard does have a close personal relationship with Jesus Christ from his interview after the game. Riley,
in God's name, image, and likeness.
Riley, let's talk about your performance. Tell us how were you able to run for 1,000,000 yards? Well, first, I'd like to give all the credit to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Okay,
Who are you, Spencer Danielson?
Riley, I'm just asking, if you and Jesus are like this, how come he didn't give you the ability to throw the ball? What did you do to piss off Jesus that he took your ability to throw the football? What sin did you commit? Did you take Did you take the sacrament before you went to confession to cleanse your soul? Is that what happened?
Yes.
Were you looking at the Georgia mascot lovingly with lustful eyes? Is that why you couldn't throw a pass worth anything last night other than the touchdown? 90 yards. As a recovering Catholic, I understand people. You probably don't know this. At Notre Dame, you go to mass every day in a suit, so it's fine. D-Rock Irish, Riley Leonard is okay, and it doesn't help when our wide receivers are not aggressive enough to get separation from their defenders. The get off last night was not good.
No.
And I feel bad for Mrs. Morty. We were in the Monty Show compound yesterday watching the game together. And she's like, "Why are you so upset?" And I just said, because Riley Leonard's our quarterback.
It's not the best situation, and we all know that.
But I think when you look at Notre Dame's offense, and listen, I understand we're tight end you. I totally get that. No pun intended. When Mitchell Evans is your best offensive option, and he was last night, right? I think there's no doubt. And you look at Helmet, Texas, or pick your favorite tight end. You've got to have a prolific pass-catching tight end in today's college football world. But you also have to have great receivers. And Notre Dame right now does not have a get-off speedster outside. You don't. You certainly you do not have anybody at Texas. You do not have anybody on par with Ohio State, BYU, the best wide receiver rooms in the country. And I look at even, it's fine. It's fine. And yeah, it's okay. We won the game.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. We won the game. That's it. Noel Ramirez, good morning. LOL, he better blame Jesus if Penn State beats them, dude. I'm just, JC, compound equals I own pew-pews, which I do. We were, okay, the crib, the homestead, why have the game why have it at 3:00 Mountain Time?
Because they didn't want to move the late game.
I've got meetings. Yeah. Speaking of the late game, suck it, Lane haters. Suck it.
Stay hard.
Lane Kiffin's a god.
Yeah, of meaningless football games.
Ain't that the truth? My dude does not win big games. But I will also say BYU fan on Twitter last night that was upset about that kid's a quarterback.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch the Did you guys watch the Ole Miss game last night? That was one of the best performances. And before I speak out of turn, let me get some numbers in front of me. I need to find the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl box score. Why? Jackson Dart last night, 27 of 30. Can you imagine if Jackson Dart was a starting quarterback at Notre Dame? 27 of 35, 404 and 4 touchdowns.
Dude.
He also ran 12 times for 43 yards. Jackson Dart.
Putting on a show.
That guy's going to be unbelievable at the next level. And that defense, I warned you about that defense. Ole Miss's defense, man, if they were legit. That flipping Florida loss. And that's who Lane Kiffin is, right?
Right.
This team would have been a problem in the college football playoff. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know who you keep out if Ole Miss gets in, but god damn.
Yeah.
The Ole Miss would have wrecked people. If you put them in over Penn State's not here today. If you put them in over SMU, Penn State is not here today because I think Penn State's an average ass football team. But the stadium got you. I never said Riley Leonard was a good quarterback. James,
okay. Hey, review the tape. Review the tape.
You make it so easy, my God. And I'm going to have trouble finding it. I have a ton. There it is right there. Okay. Now, James, the same guy who says he never said his wife was ugly. And I think that's well documented on that. Listen, I'm just giving examples.
Bro, you are never living that down, dude.
I'm just giving examples of men who make poor decisions. Right? I never said Riley Leonard was a good QB. I'm not so sure why you're hard on Notre Dame football. Riley Leonard, the way he runs, has guts. I like that kind of tenacity. Right. The problem is he can't throw the football, James. This is going to be a great fight. It wasn't a great fight. I love the new playoff. And then he tagged you in it. Do you ever even look at Twitter?
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw he tagged me. What am I going to say? I mean.
So now Riley Leonard is not a good quarterback.
But he has guts and tenacity, apparently.
And you love that. Riley Leonard can't stand in the pocket and deliver the football in big moments. Riley Leonard is not a guy. If Riley Leonard has to throw the ball 30, however many times, what did Jackson Dart do last night? 27, I think 35.
35, yeah.
Jackson Dart, 27 of 35 for 404 yards. Do you guys understand that Riley Leonard doesn't have a 300-yard passing game this year? Has more 100-yard games than 200-yard games.
Does he have more than 5 300-yard games in his career?
I don't believe he does. And I mean, listen, I would love Riley Leonard to just get jiggy with it and throw for 500 yards. And that's not who this dude is. Which is
fine.
Isn't.
It's fine. It is what it is.
They're going to go as far as Riley Leonard will take them. Do you guys understand for the entire year? He has 2,200 yards. No, the entire year, Riley Leonard has 2,293 yards.
Yeah.
That's not tenacity, James. That's not even, I could have 2,200. No, I couldn't. I'm fat. But my point is, like if you go back to 2023 at Duke and he was injured, didn't have a 300-yard game in 2023, had 2 300-yard games against Kansas and Wake Forest in 2022. And I would also point out that in 2023 against Notre Dame, he was 12 of 27, 134 yards, a touchdown and an interception, but he ran it 18 times for 88 yards. And isn't that exactly who he's been once he got to Notre Dame? They fell in love with Riley Leonard over one performance. That's Cam Ward goes to Miami. Is Riley Leonard good enough, or should a guy like Cam Ward? Think about the best portal, Dylan Gabriel. Think about the best portal
Will
quarterbacks.
Howard.
Will Howard was never going to go to Notre Dame. I think Will Howard 100% wanted Ohio State, and he's as much said that. But Will Howard is the caliber of quarterback Notre Dame should always have. And James and I routinely disagree on this. James is a guy who says winning 3 games is a really good season. He never said that, by the way. He did say his wife is ugly, but he never said 3 games is a. I'm the guy who says, okay, we're Notre Dame football, right? When you look at the great quarterbacks that Notre Dame has had, is Riley Leonard amongst those names? No, he's not. Is this team, if we're being completely honest, is this Notre Dame team capable of winning a national championship right now? No, they're not. And it's because of Riley Leonard. If you had a Gunnar Stockton, if you had a guy just capable of throwing the football 30 times in a game, I think Notre Dame is going to have to fight with everything they've got to score a touchdown against Penn State. Because I think Penn State's defense is the best part of that team. I think that could be a 3-2 Notre Dame victory. Good chance that happens. But I don't think that, I just don't see it happening.
Yeah.
Stephen Keel says we've been wrong about Penn State all year. Okay, what have we been wrong about with Penn State? I think we've called that pretty straight down the line. How have we been wrong about Penn State at
examples?
Even single time this year?
Yeah, let's go. What are the examples?
We have not missed. And I know you're probably new here, Stephen, whatever. Generally, we don't miss. Who did I predict would win the national championship? Texas. Who did I tell you is the best defense in college football? Texas. And they're in position to compete for a national championship. What have I told you about Penn State all year? Drew Aller's not a prolific quarterback. They're a horribly flawed team because their coach sucks. And they got a free pass into the college football playoff and through the college football playoff to the semifinal. And now I think they got the best possible matchup in Notre Dame. Because Riley Leonard is a real weakness for Notre Dame. And I understand he's a great story and him and Jesus Christ and totally get it. Riley Leonard is a weakness. Penn State. What did we tell you about Penn State going to the shoe? How did that work out? What did I tell you about Indiana? What did I tell you about Michigan? Oh, Michigan's going to win another champion. Alex Orji. We rarely give you an opinion that's just completely out of left field.
Yeah. And again, give us examples, dude.
Yeah. If we've been wrong about Penn State all year, please do tell.
Yeah. What examples do you have? Come in and hate. Let's get some receipts going.
What is the only game that Penn State needed to win this year? And could not do it. Oh, that's right. It would be Ohio State. And you didn't do it. And in my opinion, I think I'll need to do a much deeper dive on it. But when you look at Penn State, they're 13-2. Who are their 2 losses to? Ohio State and Oregon. Who are the 2 best teams they face this year? Ohio State and Oregon. That's funny. Who are their wins over? I think West Virginia is a good win. That's on the road. Good win. Bowling Green, Kent State, Illinois, UCLA, USC, Wisconsin, Washington, at Purdue, at Minnesota, Maryland. You played an incredibly soft schedule. And you lost to the 2 best teams you faced. So tell me again, where's the big quality win? There's not one. And you now look at Oregon. You got beat by Oregon. How good is that win? Is that like you gave up 45 points and you scored 37 points? Does that 37 look quite as good today as it did like a week ago? Before Ohio State absolutely beat the crap out of Oregon. Kind of looks like Oregon's defense has been going in the wrong direction for some time now. So, again, you tell me, what am I wrong about? You had 2 games this year. You lost them both. You get a free pass to the semifinal. And you're telling me I've been wrong about this, even though that's exactly what I said was going to happen. Okay. I'll try to live up to your amazing standard. I don't know how I will.
And again, just want to point it out. Nowhere to be found.
You know.
Nowhere to be found.
Yeah. And do we get things wrong? Yeah. Look at, I said Oak State and Utah would be the 2 best teams in the Big 12 this year. Completely wrong. Completely wrong. Is what it is. Didn't get it wrong on Penn State. Didn't get it wrong on Ohio State. I'm just telling you. Told you Texas was the best team in the country. I'll wait for you to reply on what we've been wrong about with Penn State. But feel free. Feel free. Steiny. Is the SEC now claiming their offseason portal transfer is their own now, or is it still a Big 12 team? I think this conversation, and I understand why so many people are like, oh, the SEC sucks. It's over. They suck. It's terrible. Wow, 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 wow. Hey, man, that's cool. But why are you saying that? Why are you celebrating and dancing on the SEC's grave? Because you're tired of them being the best conference in the country.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. They're still the best conference in the country. But Monty, Big Ten. No but Monties and no Big Tens. I just spent 35 seconds too long telling you Penn State's an average football team. Drew Aller's not an elite quarterback. And every single day until, I think the best example of this is until USC and really until the Pac-12 contingent in the Big Ten prove that they are real championship contenders. How many teams are really in the Big Ten?
Yeah.
I said the other day that the Big Ten's a 2-team league. Is it? Is it now? You got your ass beat. Is Ohio State the best team in the Big Ten right now? I don't even think it's close.
Yeah.
So who's the second best team?
And I guess Penn State, but I would say Oregon.
Oregon. But how good really is Oregon? How good really is Oregon? I don't know now. I don't know now. I have no idea how good they are. I really don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
But we'll see. John Hamm, Texas doesn't have a quality win either. So Arizona State doesn't qualify as a quality win. Winning your way into the college football playoff is not those aren't quality wins. Beating Clemson and Arizona State are not quality wins. Are you telling me that you look at that SEC schedule? Totally agree. Did they lose to Georgia? Not once, but twice. They did. But are we really going to sit here and say that, and here's the Big Ten argument, certain people on this show have made the argument that going to the Big House when the weather was warm and pounding a really crappy Michigan team was a good win. So now all of a sudden a 10th ranked Michigan team's not a good win.
At that time, it was a good win. Everyone said Michigan was a great team.
Beating Vanderbilt, who was 25th in the country, wasn't a good win. Beating Florida 49-17 wasn't a good win when Florida was playing their best football. And Florida turned out to be okay at 8-5. That's not a quality win. I'm going to say that's a quality win. Winning at Texas A&M 17-7 is not a quality win.
It's a quality win, dude.
I guess I just don't understand what quality win means. Beating number 4 Arizona State's not a quality win. I don't know. Maybe my standards are just too lofty.
Yeah.
Come on. Winning multiple college football playoff games is a quality win. Listen, beating Indiana and then beating Georgia, those are quality wins for Notre Dame. Those are quality wins. There's no other way to say it.
Yeah.
If you're the Ohio State, those are quality wins. Are you telling me You're telling me at 12-2 that the Ohio State beating the only 10 I see and Oregon, who's had a tougher road than Ohio State? Beating Tennessee and Oregon, those are quality wins? Come on now. I beating Indiana, ending in Indiana, the Big Ten's the best conference in the country, Marty. Indiana's I am an asshole and I admit it.
Hold on.
Beating Indiana's not a quality win.
Oh, I win. Google me.
You're telling me that beating Mr. Google Me isn't a quality win now?
Google me.
Come on. You guys, at some point, it's okay. I just sat here and gave props to Notre Dame, which I ain't done all year.
And I'm still waiting for Buddy on Penn State.
Yeah, there won't be a Buddy on Penn State. There won't be a Buddy on Penn
But no
State.
Welmonties on Penn State? Come on.
Boyd Lake, something happened to the Ohio State Buckies, not Buckeyes. Buckies.
See what he did there. That's
barbecue
a Bucky's
sandwiches.
reference.
Oak State James, I don't know if you're still here or not, but do you see what you've done to this show? That now Bucky's is a thing on this show.
Fat.
In all 57 teams that you root for because they have new stadiums and upper
Monty,
decks.
TCU and Baylor and Oklahoma State and Texas Tech. And
Don't forget Cougar Tails at BYU.
Yeah, and Utah's got to put an upper deck on the west coast side of the stadium to block the mountains, and
something happened to the Ohio State Buckies. I'll have what they're having, bro. You ain't wrong. There's Oak State James. What I like about Riley Leonard is his effort. He's not a good quarterback. But I'd take Leonard over Alan Bowman.
Bro. Dude.
Let me just get this right.
Bro.
Okay. Let me just get this right. You would take Alan Bowman over Riley Leonard. And you're telling me that you think Riley Leonard's a better quarterback than Alan Bowman. James, dude, you've said some stupid stuff on this show.
What now? Let me tell you what now.
This is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard you say.
Dude, bro, you can't be serious. You take Riley Leonard over Alan Bowman, though.
No.
Marty?
No. Dude, again,
James, did you have your Buckies this morning?
No.
Like, what's the deal?
But
dude?
you had your line of Coke, as
Yeah.
I said yesterday. There's nobody that's taking Riley Leonard over Alan Bowman.
You don't always have to be negative.
Jimmy Otson. Hello, Jimmy. Losing to Georgia twice, definitely a quality win. I think it is. Any Oregon, pretty good. There's a reason they beat Ohio State once in Penn State. When you lose your best back and best deep threat, it really sets you back.
That's not why you lost to Ohio State, bro.
The best teams, Texas, have depth. They have depth. When you are Ohio State, you don't just have Travion Henderson. You have Quinshon Judkins. When you are Oregon, you're supposed to be 3 deep at every position. Do you understand? Look at Georgia has 11 defensive tackles. 11. Look at Notre Dame. Notre Dame has defensive ends that I think that's the only thing they do. We used to be offensive line U. Bro, if you look at the left side of our line God, dog. Now we're defensive end U. Like you can't say, well, you lost this and you lost that and you lost this. Those are excuses. You either have depth or you don't. It's as simple as that. Every team left in the playoff has depth. But the thing that separates teams, in my opinion, you have to have an elite quarterback. Notre Dame and Penn State do not. Texas and Ohio State do. Now, what does Penn State and Notre Dame have that arguably better than Texas and Ohio State? Only the tight end. That's it. And Helm, I would argue, might be the best pass-catching tight end in the country. Could be wrong. But Hey, is what it is, man.
Mm-hmm.
Is what it is. Big 12 is come on. Big 12's a deeper conference than the Big 10. How? I would agree that if we go like for like, there's nobody in the Big 12 that is even capable of competing with Ohio State or Oregon. I wish that were not the case. But I'm not going to pronounce the Big 12 as a deeper conference until somebody that resides in the state of Texas competes for a conference championship.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that because you can't have the new boys on the block, the Colorados, the BYUs, and Arizona State win the conference and then proclaim yourself to be a deep conference.
Yeah.
Because you're not. You're not. And as much as we knock teams like Penn State and Michigan, when I look at the good programs in the Big Ten, not the elites, the middle of the pack, is Michigan capable of winning any game they play? Not right now, they're not. Is Iowa? Not right now, they're not. Is Illinois? Yes. Is Ohio State? Yes. Indiana? Frauds. Penn State? Yes. Oregon? Yes. USC?
I wouldn't, but what's our bar here, though? Because the reality is Indiana got to the college football playoffs. So
I just want to...
And I know, it's a fraudulent schedule. Don't disagree. But Indiana's better than TCU. Indiana's better than Texas Tech.
Say it again.
Indiana's better than West Virginia.
I think Indiana's a very average football team with a very physical defense and not much of an offense.
But if we're talking about depth in a conference.
Okay, I can get down with that. Okay, so now let's play the Big 12 game. Nobody, by the way, thinks that the Big 12 is deeper than the Big 10 because it's not. And I wish it was. You're just capable of winning every game they play. Arizona State, yes. BYU, yes. Iowa State, yes. Colorado, no. Baylor, no. TCU, Texas Tech, K-State, West Virginia, can't just go down. The answer's no. Those are all really flawed football teams. You've got three teams, in my opinion. Arizona State, BYU, and Iowa State. They have all the pieces. They have all the dudes. They can win any game that you put them on the field in.
Mm-hmm.
Colorado, everybody loves Colorado. Horribly flawed football team right
volatile.
Now. Baylor, no. TCU, no. Texas Tech, no. K-State, West Virginia, Kansas, Cincinnati, Houston, though Houston is much improved. Utah, I don't know. UCF, no. Arizona, no. Oak State, certainly not. You're not in any way, shape, or form deeper than the Big Ten. Stop. That's it. Stop. UW fan Jim, I know you will hate this, but ASU is a very good team, but they would still be fifth in the Big Ten.
All right, so Ohio State.
Penn
State.
Ohio, who's better than Arizona State? Oh, Oregon.
I can't definitively say that.
I don't think so. Penn State, no. Indiana, no. Ohio State, yes. Illinois, yes. They're better than Illinois. Michigan and Iowa.
Yeah, Michigan's year to year. Throw Michigan in there just for...
Okay, two. Michigan is year to year. Minnesota, USC?
No. I don't think those two teams are definitively better than ASU.
Rutgers, Washington? No. UCLA? No. Nebraska, no. I think there's two teams in the Big Ten better than ASU.
And Michigan's being nice. I think ASU would be just fine in the Big Ten.
And I know there are new people in the comment section. If you type in all caps, I'm probably not reading your comment. Just saying. Boyd Lake, just Google me.
Yeah, dude. Right? I mean, that's the whole deal.
Stephen Keel.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, so again, I'm not going to read your comment until you tell me what we were wrong about with Penn State. You want to talk a bunch of junk? Okay, I'm here for it. You want to go blow for blow? I'm here for it. You tell me what I was wrong about with Penn State. Paul Badansky.
Yeah, who's Badansky? Who's this guy?
All four bye teams lost. ASU, Boise, Oregon, and Georgia. movie the start of the season to mid-August. Well, if we make a movie about moving the season start to mid-August, that could be, I think it would sell tickets, probably streaming on Netflix. If we move the start of the season to mid-August.
Yeah. I mean,
what does that
love
accomplish?
Well, what it accomplishes is it gets the college football playoff going a little bit earlier. So what you wind up having is you have a longer stretch of playoff games, and it makes it so the semifinal can be bowl week instead of the quarterfinal, which I would love that.
Well, I also think we have to have a conversation about either moving or canceling the portal or just having a year-round portal.
Yeah.
You can't have the playoffs start the first week of December
mm-hmm.
and then have the portal in the... You can't do it. You're asking too much now. Your job is to win football games. So I think... Paul, I'm here for it. Or I'm sorry, Bagansky.
Yeah, Bagansky.
I'm here for the conversation. I don't think you're wrong. I think it's I think significant changes will happen.
Dude, I think the scheduling thing in terms of structure with the playoff is the heart of the conversation, because the schedule is what the portal works off of. The schedule is what money-making, situations, that's where they're created, is how you can put a schedule together that benefits everybody. And again, if you start in August, does that alleviate the bye week situation? Do you take that out? Because certainly the bye week situation is going to get resolved. You can't tell me it's not.
But the other part of this is you have to keep the Bulls relevant. And I think if we learned anything in this bowl season, and Alabama's probably the best example of this. Alabama loses to a pretty crappy Michigan team playing number 3s and 4s.
Yeah.
They didn't, if you go and look at,
they're using the bowl game as a scrimmage, essentially.
Yes, they're using the bowl game for development.
Yeah.
In these bowl games that nobody gives a rat's ass about Alabama's bowl game. Nobody cares. But if you look up and down the rosters and who played and who got meaningful snaps, it's Cam Ward at Miami. Cam Ward, whatever you believe, was there an NIL contract that said he had to play in the bowl game? The bottom line is, it doesn't change the fact that the bowl games are meaningless unless it's a college football playoff. How many bowl games did you really watch this year?
Yeah.
Okay, if you're a BYU fan, and 8 million people watch Colorado BYU.
Yeah.
So that's the outlier. Most bowl games are not significant. They're just not. And unless it is a college football playoff game,
you got to have a reason to watch the game. The game itself is not good enough. It's got to have college football playoff implications, or it's got to be like Deion Sanders and BYU and that whole dynamic. Everybody wanted to see that matchup. We didn't get that regular season matchup between those two.
Yeah, totally agree. John Hamm. The Big Ten is going to more than double the amount of NFL draft picks than the Big 12. What does that have to do with which is a better conference? The Big 12 doesn't recruit nearly enough to compete. Their conference champ was a 14-point dog to Texas. So again, I'm just asking. And I love this conversation. Well, Marty, look at how many guys are in the NFL. Okay. Who in this country puts more dudes in the NFL than a guy like Kyle Whittingham? What does that matter? Does it determine who wins games and who loses games? Not at the college level, it doesn't. Who's got more dudes in the NFL than Alabama? If this is the argument, then there's no conversation because nobody's got more dudes in the NFL than the SEC. Got guys, and I understand from a recruiting perspective. Hey, you want to be a defensive back or a defensive lineman and play in the NFL? You go to Utah because that's what they do. They put dudes in the NFL. That doesn't mean they win games.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean they win games. Is Alabama undefeated? No, because they didn't win all their games. Are they going to put dudes in the draft? Absolutely. Yes. The answer, Jalen Milroe going to the NFL draft, and he will get drafted. That's just what they do. Anthony Richardson is an Indianapolis Colt. Not because he was a good quarterback, because he played at Florida. And people saw him because his games were on TV.
Yep.
Right? But Josh Allen, were his games on TV? No. Well, dude, you better go to the Big Ten, Josh, if you want. No, turns out you can get drafted if you don't. My point is, I hate the argument that, hey, You know what you need to do? Again, it's Deion Sanders. As much as you all seem to hate Deion Sanders, give me 10 really good high school players. I'll get the rest from the portal, and let's develop them, and we'll go win games.
Yeah.
I know you hate Deion Sanders. Tell me he's wrong. Tell me he's wrong. That's all I'm saying. Did up in the previous comments just miss them? Okay, say it again, because I'm not going to go back and read your comments. And I'm not going to read any of your comments until you tell me what I got wrong about Penn State. Because I haven't gotten a flipping thing wrong about Penn State. Sean Mierzinski. I'm telling you, if I'm a recruit, I'd love to have a coach with the energy of Freeman and Dillingham.
Yeah.
Do you have that? Did we get that video of Marcus Freeman? I don't think we did. Marcus Freeman, the day that he got the job.
Oh, no, not that one. No, it's Notre Dame copyrighted. Yeah,
that dude
can't do that.
Goes into the locker room.
And they love him, dude.
He is absolutely. Marcus Freeman's a good dude.
Yeah.
Marcus Freeman is an excellent motivator. Up until last night, he had not been a good coach. He had been a very pedestrian coach. And my biggest concern is he's going to have to prove that he can recruit something other than defense.
Yeah.
Because their offensive line, I don't know that it's arguable even. This is one of their worst offensive lines at Notre Dame that we've seen in some time. And I don't care if you're injured. You're supposed to be Notre Dame. You're supposed to be 3 deep at every position.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have we can keep talking about Riley Leonard. You don't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
You got to show me you can recruit offense.
But I think yesterday afternoon was a big step forward for Marcus.
I would agree with that. Xavier Wolf, college football is pain. College football hurts. I love college football. But, Freeman is 3-0 against the SEC. All ranked teams, definitely pedestrian. Okay. So you're going to take a win against that Georgia team and that Texas A&M team, and we're now all of a sudden he's the greatest coach ever. How do you have 10 guys on the field against Ohio State last year? Game's on the line. You've got that game won. Okay, terrible penalties. All right, you're on the goal line. You have 10 men on the field. They ran the football right to the spot where you were missing a dude. Okay, last year, Riley Leonard's your best quarterback. You're routinely not prepared for clock management situations, Marcus Freeman, all season long. You allowed your team to have one of the worst losses of the season, where they looked ill-prepared and it just was screamingly obvious. They had no idea what NIU was going to run. Marcus Freeman did not until last night show that he could develop and evolve on a big picture level. Until you have high-level execution, you will not win high-level games.
Yeah, and by the way, it's shocking the way Georgia performed. I mean, nobody saw that coming.
Marcus Freeman's football team last night made 2 schematic errors. Both of them resulted in a Georgia penalty. That's the first game, and I watch every game, pretty much every snap of every Notre Dame game. That's the first game where we did not have horrendous, hey, let's run the 11th. How many times this year has Notre Dame run the 11th guy on the field on defense while the ball was being snapped? How many times are we going to have 10 guys on the field while the ball is being snapped? It had to be at least half a dozen. At least half a dozen.
Mm-hmm.
How many formation penalties on offense?
Yeah, and that played out last night. How many penalties did Notre Dame have last night?
These mistakes are the reason that you lose games like that. Notre Dame's had an easy schedule. There's no way to mask that. And until last night, we had never seen a Marcus Freeman coached Notre Dame football team execute at a high level. We had never seen it. Picked a great night to do it. I don't care if Georgia crap themselves all night long. Don't care. Not my concern. My concern as a Notre Dame homer is I want to see execution because we've got talent. We've got talent for days in the secondary. Well, our right corner. We've got our front seven is as talented as any front seven in college football, and they tackle better than anybody else in college football. And why is that? Because Marcus Freeman's an elite defensive coach. So where do we lack at Notre Dame?
Mm-hmm.
We're not good on offense.
Yeah.
Can't run the ball and can't throw the ball. Other than that, we're great. It just is what it is. Stephen Keel, Drew Aller, projected first-round pick in the draft. Okay, show me. Because Drew Aller's not. And by the way, it's the worst quarterback draft most people have ever seen. Drew Aller's not a projected first-round pick. So we talked about this last week. Look at Penn State's strength of schedule compared to anyone. I don't compare teams to teams. Look at Penn State's strength of schedule.
Again, how are we wrong about their strength of schedule, though? This is my point.
So, again, I'm asking you what we were wrong about. And as usual, you pedophiles out there don't want to talk about what you were wrong about. Their wins are West Virginia, Bowling Green, Kent State, Illinois, UCLA, USC, Wisconsin. Here's the bottom half of the Big Ten. Purdue, 0-9.
Excuse me. Purdue,
0-9. Maryland, 1-8. Northwestern, 2-7. Wisconsin, 3-6. Michigan State, 3-6. Nebraska, 3-6. UCLA, 3-6. Washington, 4-5. Rutgers, 4-5. All those teams except a couple are on your schedule. And then when you ran into Oregon, what happened? The two best teams in the Big Ten, Oregon and Ohio State, what happened? So come at me, bro, on strength of schedule. Your strength of schedule sucks.
Yeah, I don't. I'm trying to understand what you mean. How did we get strength of schedule wrong with Penn State? Like, I don't understand your argument.
Tell me again. How on earth you're going to make the argument that Penn State is being disrespected on the show with strength of schedule when you won games against pretty much the entire bottom half of the Big Ten and you lost to the two best teams you saw? You don't have a quality win. You got a free pass in SMU and Boise State, and now Notre Dame. You lose to Notre Dame, don't ever come back on the show, man. Like, I kid you not. If you lose to Notre Dame, and I'm not saying you're going to lose to Notre Dame, because I would be, come on,
shocked.
You can't lose to Notre Dame, right? I mean, you can't lose to Notre Dame. But how on earth are you going to make the? Yeah. Anyway. All I'm saying is this is a team that when you look at strength of schedule and you look at their resume. Let's just look at Penn State's resume. Their strength of schedule is 17th. Oh, but compare them to anybody. Okay, how about Ohio State? 8th. Oh, but Marty, their strength 8th. You're 17th. I know. I got it totally wrong. Resume strength, remaining strength of schedule. You're 3rd. Ohio State's 1. Man, Marty, you've been wrong about them all year. All year.
Yeah, I'm
trying
to
controlling the game. You're 9th. Ohio State's number 1.
What are you saying that? Are you saying that we're wrong that Penn State's got a weak ass schedule? Is that the point you're trying to make here?
Dude,
like, I'm trying to understand.
Dude, you are out of your mind. You don't know what and this is what we get into most times when people come in here and try to be a red ass about their team. You're using emotion to defend pedophiles at Penn State. And what I'm telling you is you don't have the resume that Ohio State has. You're not close to the resume that Ohio State has. And Ohio State's got 2 losses. One to a really bad Michigan team. So anyway, all right, Steven, nice knowing you. Have a good day. Ohio State, Texas. Like it's one of the most like it's Oak State James defending Ollie Gordon's DUI by running stairs. It's Ferris Khan defending Michigan as a good team, and Alex Orji is going to win the Heisman.
And sign stealer guy was a lone wolf.
And Jim Harbaugh would never leave Michigan. Well, you guys make it so easy because I don't. The truth is, the only team I care about is Notre Dame. Outside of that, I have no emotion, and I'm very analytical, and I do my homework. I've seen your team. I know your team. Drew Aller's not going to be an NFL quarterback. He's going to be a clipboard holder. Like if you look at the Big Ten and you look at offensive rankings, do you think Penn State is more of a run team or a pass team? If I said to you, is Penn State more of a run team or a pass team?
I don't know. Who are they playing? Playing Boise State? Hey, you're bombing it down the field.
That's my point.
Oh, you're playing Notre Dame? Yeah. Probably going to have to pass more because they're going to shut down your run game.
Drew Aller against Boise State. And Boise State fans are like, well, we tried hard. You did try hard. Drew Aller against Boise State, 13-25, 171 yards.
Man, nice job, dude.
3 touchdowns. Wow. Okay. Drew Aller against SMU, 127 yards. And what is my main complaint been against Drew Aller all season long? Does not complete at a high percentage in big situations. 52% against Boise State, 59% against SMU. That's not good.
Right.
Now, where did his big performances come from? His best performance was USC. 391, 70%, 2 scores. Kent State, 309, 81%, 3 scores. Not big games. Not big games. Ohio State, 60%, not good. No touchdowns, an interception, 12 of 20. Oregon, 20 of 39, 226, 51%. 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. No sacks. Like, bro, I can play this game all day long. All day long. In my opinion, and I'll just continue to say it, you go as far as Katron Allen is going to take your offense.
Yeah, seriously.
And Nick Singleton's a really good running back as well. You should run the football. That's what you do well against an elite defense like Notre Dame. Hey,
but that's your problem, right? You're not going to be able to run the football like that against Notre Dame.
Maybe Drew Aller comes out and he's just, the best NFL quarterback anybody's ever seen.
Yeah, first team all clipboard holder.
52% is better than 51% all day long. Yes, it is.
Well, man, that's an excellent point right there.
Oh, my God. The eye patch. But, Monty, that was 20 years ago. All Sandusky State fans. Hilarious.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Notre Dame is tougher, more athletic, and faster team, period. Franklin is Brian Kelly of the Big Ten. Don't disagree with you.
But even with that, I'm still not confident that Notre Dame beats Penn State. Not confident. Like, I'm not. I'm not like, oh, yeah, that's definitely.
I'm a realist about our football team.
Yeah.
Our and we the beloved.
Yeah.
Riley Leonard's what stands in between us and winning. V-Note, the most once said. Okay. Boomer Sooner.
Dan, thank you. Yep.
Oh, how about that big Papa War Machine? How about UW fan Jim, a member of the show for 17 months? Texas lost on a blatant targeting penalty, right?
No, that's not why they lost the game.
Yeah. Texas, you mean Texas won on a blatant targeting penalty.
Yeah.
What about what Brett Yormark said? Let's get off of the pedos for a while.
Yeah.
Because I think this is a really fascinating conversation. Brett Yormark wants a national officiating standard. How do we not have this already? Oh, because we don't have the College Football Super League. And everything that Brett Yormark says to me screams Super League. My opinion is he wants a Super League. So when you look at, he released a statement after the Arizona penalty where everybody thinks that penalty cost Arizona State the game. It did not. Brett Yormark says, I'm incredibly proud of how Arizona State represented the Big 12 in the CPF quarterfinals.
Who are you, Oak State James?
It'd be the college football playoff quarterfinals. While the outcome didn't go our way, the Sun Devils proved they are one of the most talented teams in college football this season. As a member of the College Football Playoff Management Committee, I've had multiple discussions seeking clarity surrounding the targeting call on Arizona State's final drive of the fourth quarter with Richard Clark. I agree. Not a doubt. How is that not targeting?
Yeah.
Moving forward, we need to address the college football playoff officiating to ensure national standards are developed. Those standards will be crucial to the college football playoff's future. And I look forward to discussing them with my fellow committee members when we meet next week.
I don't think he's wrong at all.
But what didn't he say? We need a national college football officiating standard across the board. It's not what he said. Moving forward, we need to address the college football playoff officiating to ensure national standards are developed. The college football playoff. He's not asking for the Big 12 and the Mountain West and your mom's house to have the same officiating standards. He's asking for it in the college football playoff because Brett knows what we all know, which is that nationally we need to have one body for college football with a commissioner. I don't know, like Greg Sankey.
Schemers trying to control their little worlds.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
But boy, howdy. I don't disagree with him at all, but I don't think it's just for the college football playoff. I think it's across the board. I don't know. Does anybody else have standardized officiating that it's like across every conference in every division of every conference? Oh, the NFL. And oh, by the way, I think it also matters that we're still moving towards the college football playoff championship game on Saturday and the Super Bowl championship on Sunday.
Yeah, the NFL minor league model, as Witt said,
it's going to happen.
I just think that it's necessary. I think that it's necessary to have, standards. I think that, it's everything from the Kirby crying about the 11-man sub to the targeting situation. I don't know how that's not targeting. I think by everyone's standard and definition, it is targeting. You led with the crown of the helmet. You hit a defenseless receiver in the head, forcible contact to the head. Like, it's everything you want in a targeting call. And to me, everyone would say, oh, that cost ASU the game. I didn't think it cost ASU the game. Now, would it have helped them a lot? Yeah, you're damn right it would have helped them a lot. That's one of their best defenders in Texas. So, yeah, it would have helped ASU a lot. But I just think ultimately I'm tired of hearing about how officials and officiating is this huge deal that costs people games. And the reality is if one call is keeping you from winning a ball game, you didn't do enough the rest of the game. And I'm going to say that about ASU, going to say it about Georgia, and I'm going to say it about anybody who complains about it, because ultimately officials are human beings. It's part of the game. And this is my biggest problem with what Major League Baseball is doing with umpires. Like, when did we lose sight that umpires and officiating is a layer of the game? Some days you're not going to have good officiating. Other days it's going to be A1.
Because they're human.
Yeah, they're human. It's a huge deal.
Not human, they're human.
Like, I just don't understand why that concept is so hard to understand.
Which rhymes with cumin.
Right.
Wait, we need to stop the show. I have to apologize.
Okay. Who are we apologizing to?
Brandon Butler makes a great point. I wouldn't say get off and pedos in the same sentence, Marty.
Anita, Dick, and Ming.
Yeah, I mean, that's a family show.
My
dude.
bad. My bad.
You're talking about Catholics pulling it out and like we
Stay
don't.
hard.
Yeah, we don't need all that, dude.
My bad. Stymie Snurdly. Abolish all football conferences. Play regional rivals and national schedule. Notre Dame is $14 million richer this morning, not their conference. They don't have a conference, number one. I don't disagree. We need a Super League. Cam Harrison, good morning. Good morning, guys. Happy New Year. Shout out to Mo Bamba.
Shout to Mobamba.
Good morning. Happy New Year. Delaric, well, the Super Bowl and college football championship be held at the same site? No. Different sites, more money for everybody.
And I'm not sure that logistically would be a good idea.
Boyd Lake, the SEO king of America. The NFL isn't giving up the eve of the Super Bowl to anyone. You want to bet? Well, but why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? Is there great programming the night before the Super Bowl?
No.
In fact, there's no programming the night before the Super Bowl. The NFL goes into lockdown. So what I would tell you is it's exactly what the NFL wants. Because anything that raises the anticipation and the excitement, also anything that allows players not to go to Tijuana and get lit like Barrett Robbins and the Raiders.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
What do you NFL players are doing in their hotels on Saturday night?
Cocaine and hookers, my friend.
Probably. Good job. They're watching college football games.
Yeah.
What they're doing is they're betting on college football games. College football games, and I don't know, I'm sure people realize this, but college football games are a huge culture in the NFL. Like, it's jersey swaps, it's wearing a skirt on Tuesday media or Wednesday media session. Like, there's a lot, in my opinion. There is a lot. The eye patch. Well, the 15-yard penalty would have helped ASU in the late. Well, of course it would have. But it's not why they lost the game. The Hawaiian golfer. If this is a family show, then Joe Pod did nothing wrong. Well, I mean.
Then Joe Pod did nothing wrong?
Hugh Janus.
Bro, dude, Buddy's out here running shower Olympics, and you want to say Joe Pod did nothing wrong?
Brandon Butler, I would have the college football championship on Saturday the week before the Super Bowl when they used to do the All-Star game. Well, but they are also bringing back the skills competition. And I don't know what happens with the Pro Bowl. But I think you're going to see that Saturday before the Super Bowl is going to be a significant event day.
Yeah.
So, Sir Bob Lobs, the Police Academy Awards show is on the night before the Super Bowl. You know what?
Live PD reruns?
Live PD. No, I'm not going to read dumb comments. Let's see. Don Juan 914. The college football season needs to end with the championship game being played at the Rose Bowl. I'm so tired of this take. The Rose Bowl sucks.
Yeah.
How many of you have been to the Rose Bowl? The Rose Bowl is hard to get to. It needs to be completely torn down and rebuilt. And a major renovation is going to happen. It's impossible to get to. You know the bigger issue with the Rose Bowl? The people it's in a neighborhood. Many of you probably don't know this. It's up on a hill in a neighborhood of multi-million-dollar homes in Pasadena, California. They hate the Rose Bowl. The people who live around the Rose Bowl. It's impossible to get an Uber. You have to walk, I think, 1.5 miles to get an Uber. There's no cell signal out there. Like, the Rose Bowl sucks. The Rose Bowl's not good. People are like, oh, bro.
Well, Monty.
I've got some blood flowing to the lower extremities. Look at that shot on TV.
What's an erection?
Big football game. Oh, my God.
Stay hard.
It sucks.
Yeah.
If you've been there, you know it sucks.
Garbo.
It sucks. It's not good. Not good. Smash the numbers. What do you know about the Rose Bowl? As long as it's 2 p.m. on January 1st. There you go. It does suck. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. The Rose Bowl is the best, and I've only been to bad Duck games. Okay. Skills competition, that one that no one freaking watches. Exactly right. I really would like to see. Yeah, it is what it is. The national championship needs to evolve.
Yeah.
It needs to evolve. It truly needs to evolve. Have we seen the last of Aaron Rodgers? Is Aaron Rodgers retiring? Let's talk about that after this from the Advocates.
Hi, Sarah. Your dad told me about your accident. Can you tell me how it happened?
Still kind of going through it, but
I was stopped at a light, and then this car I heard it come up behind me, and bam, and it's kind of like in slow motion.
That's what happens. It's the worst day of your life. You wind up in the hospital, and your insurance company is trying to get you to sign waivers. Don't do it, man. You need somebody that'll fight for you while you're trying to get back to the best version of yourself. That's the Advocates at theadvocates.com, where you never pay a penny out of pocket because you don't pay the Advocates unless and until they win your case. Talk to an injury attorney live online 24/7, 365, and it won't cost you a dime at theadvocates.com. A little breaking news. So speaking of how bad Alabama was this year, Alabama that everybody thought should be in, Alabama co-defensive coordinator and defensive backs coach Colin Hitchler has been informed he'll not return next year. He had a year remaining on his deal. Alabama's not going to sit around and hope and pray. It's what I say about the best programs in the country. Are you in the college football playoff? Okay, if you're not, significant changes have to happen.
Yeah.
If you have a season like Alabama had, significant changes on defense have to happen. Utah, great example.
Yeah.
Oh, Witt's too old. He's going to retire. So he goes and gets one of the best offensive coordinators by the numbers and a really good recruiter, and completely changes philosophies on offense. Change had to happen.
Yeah.
Change had to happen.
And it did.
I talked to a guy close to Utah yesterday who said all of this nonsense about culture and how bad the culture was at Utah this year is nonsense. That there was significant dissent over Cam Rising, and that the Cam Rising situation at Utah absolutely split the locker room. And I think one of the things that nobody's talking about is just how much it hurt Utah that Isaac Wilson was that unprepared to play. They really thought Cam Rising was going to be the guy. And I think they planned that way. They prepared that way.
Yeah.
And when it didn't happen, it devastated Utah. And it's shocking. It is shocking how much that situation damaged that team.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, let's get to Aaron Rodgers. Is it time for Aaron Rodgers to retire? I think he's done. I don't think he has the ability anymore. Some guys just don't come back from big injuries. And Aaron Rodgers this year did not look like the same guy. Granted, he got better mobility as the season went on. But has Aaron Rodgers played his last snap in the NFL?
I think he'll play. He'll. Yeah. I want to say no, but
you think he has not?
I want to say no, but part of me is like, dude, this guy is so non-committal, just like generally speaking, that I don't know that he has the fire in him. I mean, he could play another season. I agree, he's not the same guy, but like, he could play another season if he wanted to. Like, he has that within him, but I don't know, man. It doesn't seem like he loves the game the way he used to. It doesn't seem like, he's got that fire in him still. The same way that, Tom did, or LeBron does, or, these older guys who, are playing absolutely as long as they can. And, frankly, I think that what Aaron didn't foresee with coming to the Jets was just how tough the media would be, and how much it would change his image. Because I do think people have finally started getting on board with, hey, Aaron Rodgers is the problem. Now, Woody Johnson doesn't help things,
No, he doesn't,
put everybody in the best position. But Aaron Rodgers, is more interested in doing ayahuasca and media sessions with Pat than he is with winning football games. And that's the problem.
You really believe that?
Yeah, I do. I think that Aaron Rodgers loves being the center of attention and loves to, like the Aaron Rodgers-Ryan Clark beef. Like, that's a perfect example. Like, Aaron Rodgers made it personal with Ryan Clark when Ryan Clark was just saying that Aaron Rodgers isn't that guy anymore. I don't even think that's controversial. I think Aaron Rodgers is a shell of who he used to be. And I think the Achilles situation just fast forwarded the timeline of him retiring. That's the hard part.
Yeah, I think that Mike Vrabel interviewing with the Jets today is very interesting. If you are the leading defensive candidate in all of the NFL, and Mike Vrabel certainly is that.
Mm-hmm.
I think he and Ben Johnson in Detroit will be the two hottest candidates. Are you taking the Jets job if they offer it to you today? I don't think I am.
I don't think I am. I think that, I would only be able to take the Jets job if Woody Johnson put it on paper that you could do what you want to do. Because Woody Johnson is someone who seems like the owner who's like, yeah, we're going to go all in and spend money. And then when it doesn't work for 1 year, we're just going to blow it all up. And that's the problem is that, I mean, if y'all remember the iconic Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams picture, and everyone was like, oh my God, Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers are teaming up and it's finally happening. Like look at these two dudes. Like, I have a lot of respect for what Devontae Adams has done in the NFL. This is somebody who...
I think he can still play.
Yeah, I think he can still play. I still think, no matter who you ask, is a top 3 wide receiver in the league. Like, this guy can play. But this picture right here is my problem with Aaron Rodgers. You did this on Pat McAfee's show, and you only do it there because you can get away with it, because Pat lets you do whatever you want to do. And I think people have had enough of Aaron Rodgers' game. I think people have had enough of the scheming. I think that what the Jets need is a quarterback who's actually bought into the New York Jets, not bought into himself. And that's what I think is difficult with Aaron Rodgers, is that Aaron Rodgers is out for himself. Always has been.
Always will be.
And whether that's his personal life, whether that's Fathead in Green Bay and getting him fired, we've had.
There's
so many
one guy
examples.
that could save the Jets.
Dude. Chapel Bill, dude.
Chapel Bill could save. I just wanted to show that picture. The Jets are 7th in the draft order right now. Is that an attractive job? Bears or Jets?
Bears. I would rather have the Bears because you've already got the quarterback and he's already got a year under his belt.
Do the Giants make a change at head coach? I don't think they do.
No, I don't think they do. What's hard about this is I feel like, we were talking about this yesterday, that New England might trade out. Or what will New England do? If you trade out of that, you're not good at footballing if you're New England. Because, again, I look at this draft order and I'm like, okay, well, there's plenty of talent here. So if you're going to keep Drake May, if your team Drake May, you're going to draft Travis Hunter.
If your team Drake May.
If you're in the Screaming A camp, in the camp of several other pundits saying that they should trade Drake May and draft Shador, cool. You're going to draft Shador. So in my eyes, there's no way New England should trade out. You should stay there. You should pick one of those two guys, and you should build your team off of that. But yeah, I think if you're the Jets sitting at 7, I think you got to take a look at trading up. You got to call, Tennessee and Cleveland. You have to.
I think what is on this list, I think New Orleans, Chicago, Las Vegas, the Jets are the 4 most obvious open jobs.
Yeah.
I think the Bears job is the most attractive job.
I would agree.
Which is shocking because it's really not an attractive job.
I think the only tough part about the Bears job is his division is really deep now. You've got, 3 other teams that are just cooking.
Well, in Detroit, Minnesota this weekend's going to be on fire.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who should the Bears hire as a head coach? The more I think about it, I mean, I would hire Ben Johnson today if he said he wanted the job, the offensive coordinator with the Lions.
But is he going in division? That's the hard part.
I don't think so. Him and Dan Campbell have such a good relationship. He could do it. I think you're looking at Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah.
You need a guy that will build an offense to fit the quarterback. And I think that's Cliff Kingsbury.
And Cliff's current
It's Cliffy,
position
please.
in Cliffy's, Yee of Scottsdale pad. His current position with the Commanders, it's not like he's, winning Super Bowls there and like
no, but his quarterback looks really good.
His quarterback does look really good, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. I'm not saying, the whole team is his fault or anything, but what I am saying is that, I'm a big believer if someone's going to change jobs, there's got to be something more that they're looking for. So like Ben Johnson's already in a really elite position, right? You're the OC on a playoff caliber football team, a Super Bowl caliber football team. Like, you're not going to just leave that opportunity because you don't know how long it's going to be until you're in an organization at the right time. So I don't think that Ben Johnson's going to sit here and be like, yeah, I'm real excited about leaving the Lions right now. He's not real excited about leaving the Lions. He loves what he does. And by the way, he doesn't have the responsibility that Dan Campbell has or any head coach has. He's a coordinator. All he's got to do is keep dialing it up for Jared Goff and the boys. That's all he's got to do. And he's going to get paid a ton of money. Everything's kosher. The problem is that if you go to the Bears, there's going to be expectations. Hey, you're crushing it with the Lions. You're now the Bears head coach. How can you take us to the promised land? And I still maintain that one of the biggest issues with taking the Bears job is how much money is ownership willing to spend? How aggressive are you willing to be? Because the McCaskies have shown a very conservative approach, I would say. Yes, you got some free agents. Yes, you did some things.
It's not even that. What they've done, what the Chicago Bears have done to torpedo themselves, plain and simply, is you continue to make changes at the wrong time.
Yeah.
You continue to fire coaches and GMs at different times. You continue to have general managers draft players and then fire them, or hire a coach and then fire them. You hire the wrong head coach, whether it's Mark Trestman, John Fox, Matt Eberflus. You overpaid for Flus. Wrong place, wrong time. You refuse to hire offensive guys because you're stuck in the 80s with your monsters of the midway philosophy. Meanwhile, the NFL has zoomed by you.
Yeah.
You're one of the worst, most poorly run organizations in all of football.
But you have a great GM. You have talent, enough talent, and you really should be, a 7-9 win football team. And you're behind that pace right now, obviously.
Yeah. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know how you fix it. If you're the Giants, people want to play in New York. You fire Dayball, you'll be one of the most attractive jobs in the NFL.
Yeah.
If you're the Jets, you're never going to be an attractive job. If you're New Orleans, you're never going to be an attractive job. The Chicago Bears are in a rare position where arguably they are the most attractive job in the NFL. They should be able to get any head coach they want. Yet they can't because the owner routinely makes bad decisions.
Yep. So you
it's
can't
as simple
trust
as that.
You can't trust, like, if you're Ben Johnson or even Cliff Kingsbury is in this camp, is going to that, is the risk that is taking the Bears job worth it in terms of career arc? Because if you take that job and you get whacked and you never had success and it was a dumpster fire, but it was only a dumpster fire because ownership wasn't on the same page with Ryan Pace, which means, or Ryan Poles, which means that you're not on the same page. Like, that's out of your control, dude. And that's what I'm saying. That's what the Bears need to be careful of, is making sure they send the message that they are actually unified, that ownership and front office and head coach can be unified in the vision of the team.
Yeah.
Because it's a very clear thing. You need offensive line help right now. I don't want to hear about, defense and, wide receiver. No, you've got a defense. You've got wide receivers. You need to protect Caleb Williams at a much higher level if you want to see the top end of his potential. So if you bring in Cliff Kingsbury, that's going to be his stance. Hey, we got to protect this guy. We need more protection to run a better offense.
Yeah, I don't know what you do. Like, the Patriots are very interesting. You can't draft a quarterback. You need to trade the number 1 pick. As I said yesterday, I think it's to the Raiders who want Shedeur Sanders. I think that makes all the sense in the world.
But if you don't draft Shedeur and you don't get Travis Hunter, you messed it up.
Nah, I don't think so. I think you wind up, Travis Hunter doesn't fix the Raiders or the Patriots. If you are the Raiders, you need multiple players. You trade the Raiders and the Patriots, swap multiple picks, including the 1st and the 8th. You wind up with Abdul Carter, let's say, right? Because I think that's probably what you would take at 8. But I think that is, in my mind anyway, that's what I would do. I just don't know. I don't know. You have to go one of two ways here. If you're the Patriots, you're sticking with your head coach.
Right.
which I'm not saying is the right thing to do. He's a defensive guy. You're going to trade out of that first spot, and you're going to go get the best edge defender that you can get.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the only way you go. If you're the Chicago Bears, I think you're all in on Kelvin Banks from Texas. It's the biggest dude with the best footwork anybody's ever seen ever in the history of footwork.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
That's a pretty obvious pick.
That's what I would do. The Titans at number 2 will have a very difficult choice. If the Patriots trade out and the Raiders get Shedeur Sanders, what do the Titans do at number 2? Cam Ward or Travis Hunter? How do you not take Travis Hunter?
Yeah.
He solves a lot of problems for you.
Who do they got? Will Levis?
Will Levis.
Yeah.
If you're the Cleveland Browns, how are you not taking the best offensive lineman available to you? Probably Will Campbell, who I think is the best offensive lineman in the draft. I think that'd be tough.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I think there's a lot of questions, and it is going to be very interesting to see what happens. But Mike Vrabel interviewing with the Jets today.
Defensive guy.
Would you hire Mike Vrabel to be your head coach?
Not if I'm the Jets, no. What's the point of firing Bob? Why'd you fire Bob Saleh if you're going to hire Mike Vrabel?
Bobby Saleh.
Yeah. What was the point of that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a really interesting question.
Like
I think
that's
it
one of
is
those hires though, where you're like, hey, Woody, what are you looking at here, man? You fired a defensive guy.
Yep.
You've got a defensive guy currently, and now you're going to hire another defensive guy, and none of this worked, and you wasted all the money on Rodgers and Devontae, in addition to bringing in Aaron Rodgers guys at wide receiver. So
I just think it's going to be really difficult.
Like, do you see what I mean, though? Like, that's bad. That's just bad ownership. That's bad decision making. That's not logical thinking. Like, hey, we're all the rumors and reporting saying that Aaron Rodgers and Devontae are moving on. So this is like one of those years for the Jets where it's like, hey, we have to get this particular offseason right. Like, and I'm not saying you got to fix everything, but this offseason you got to get right. You got to hire an offensive-minded head coach. Right? You got to go out and get an offensive-minded head coach, and then you got to do your work in the draft. You have to get the draft right if you're the Jets.
Should the Patriots trade that pick?
I would not trade the pick. I think the Patriots are the worst team in the league for a reason. And I'm all here for you. You want to talk about firing Mayo? I'm all here for it. You want to have that conversation? I'm down. But in no way, shape, or form should you trade the number 1 overall pick when you need more talent on that roster. That's your biggest problem. You lack talent.
If they don't trade out and the Titans pick second, Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders?
I'm taking Shedeur. I think
a lot of people have a Cam Ward.
Yeah. Who will they take? I think if it's the Titans, they're probably going to take Cam Ward. But for me, I like Shedeur more because his football IQ is higher and he is more risk averse. He is more thoughtful with pre-snap. Like, hey, here's what the defense is doing. If I get in trouble, this is where I can throw it. You can clearly see that development over the course of this past season with Shedeur. And Cam Ward is a gunslinger. I love him and hate him for it. I love watching Cam Ward roam and bomb it, but ultimately that's going to lead to more turnovers.
If that happens, Shedeur Sanders goes to the Giants. And that would be shocking because Cleveland, I think, goes defense or offensive line. The Giants would be sitting there at 4.
Yeah.
That means probably Jacksonville takes defense. And I think that means that Kelvin Banks will fall to the Bears at 9, which would be outstanding.
Yeah.
I think that's best case scenario for the Bears. But we'll see. Sanders over Ward all day. Yeah, you would think so, wouldn't you?
I mean, at the NFL level, I'm taking the guy that's got the higher IQ, because if you have a high IQ, if you can understand what the defense is doing to you, you can make a living in the NFL. You can be prolific in the NFL. I mean, hell, that's how Tom Brady did it, right? Like, he wasn't Mr. Athletic, Mr. Run all over the place, obviously. Yeah. He did it with his mind. Like,
yep. Yeah, I agree. Let's see. Phil Venzer, noted Las Vegan. Watch the Raiders mess it up as usual. Fans leaving and coming to the Rebels.
Yeah, we'll see.
If you're the Raiders, do you want a rookie quarterback or do you go and get the best available veteran that you can find? I think that's a very interesting question.
You firing your head coach? You should.
The Raiders?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt. I think there's no doubt Antonio Pierce is on the clock.
Yeah.
Do you guys understand how many bros are going to get blown up on Monday? Like, I think there's going to be, if you look, let's prognosticate about men's future. Who gets whacked? I think Mayo keeps his job. Tennessee, no. Cleveland is not firing Stefanski.
No.
Jacksonville, yes. The Raiders, yes. The Jets already. Indianapolis, probably not. Cincinnati, no. Miami, no. Denver, no. Houston, no. The Giants, do you keep or fire Brian Daboll?
I would keep him another year.
Carolina, no. The Bears, already with the Saints. Kyle Shanahan and Sam Frog's
You're not
disco.
firing him.
I don't think you are either. You're not. Arizona, Dallas, Fathead McCarthy.
He's getting fired.
You really think so?
Yes, he's getting fired.
I think that's going to be really close.
I think Jared needs someone to blame it on. Jared is notorious for firing guys.
If Dallas and Las Vegas both fire their coaches, does Deion's phone ring?
Yes.
You think it does?
Yeah. Well, and again, I want to make it clear. I think Deion's reality as the head coach at Colorado is dealing with his phone ringing or his assistant's phone ringing all the time. And I'm not exaggerating. All jokes aside, I think dude's phone rings every single day, maybe twice a day, from people calling to check his willingness to leave for their opportunity. So if Jerry Jones calls you, says, hey, we're going to move on from Mike. Would you have interest?
Ooh.
And, I mean, you're going to take that call. I'm not saying he would do it, but you're going to have the conversation. Like, you don't just say no to that.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know. Tom Dean, maybe the Bears need to hire Gundy. Stop. The eye patch. Shador and Ward are 1-2. Who's 3 and 4?
Well, that's the problem.
Don't forget Drew Allen.
Yeah, Drew Allen's a top first-round pick, so,
I mean, I think that all depends.
I don't think you can to answer the question of who's like 3rd and 4 in terms of quarterback. I don't think that question can be answered simply by comparing the quarbats.
Yeah,
I think it's super situational, and it really, really depends on what the team needs.
That's tough.
Because again, Drew Aller being the example, no team looking to bomb it down the field, looking to run like a spread offense, let's say, is going to draft Drew Aller. But a team that runs it more, run first team, maybe tries to develop him, then okay, maybe he gets drafted. Like,
I think Shador number 1, Cam 2. Boy, that's tough. Jackson Dart, I think, is in a group with Quinn Ewers or Jackson Dart in the NFL.
Jackson Dart, bigger arm, more athletic.
Man, Carson Beck or Jalen Milroe? Right now, Jalen Milroe, because Carson Beck's having elbow surgery. I think if I had to go top 3, Shador, Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers. I mean, Kyle McCord.
He made himself some money this year.
Dylan Gabriel, but Dylan's a lefty.
I'd take Kyle McCord over Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting. I think the bigger question is running back in the NFL. Ginty clearly number 1. But Cam Scatterbo is the 9th rated NFL running back at Pro Football Focus. These are the backs that are listed higher. Trevor Etienne, Travion Henderson, Jordan James, Nick Singleton, Quinshon Judkins, Caleb Johnson, who's way under the radar, and Omarion Hampton. I agree with the top 3. Ginty, Hampton, Johnson. I think Travion 4.
Yeah, he's ahead. Yeah.
And Cam Scatterbo 5.
Yeah, agreed.
Scatterbo, 5.
And I think if you're ATN sitting there, you're disappointed with how your season finished.
I'm a little surprised that Ollie Gordon is all the way up at 11 now. He was at 16 last week, and now he's at 11.
I mean, I think he can have a perfectly fine NFL career. Again, situation though, right? Like,
yeah, boy, there is Josh Simmons and Calvin Banks are really close. This draft sucks for QBs, dude.
Yeah.
Wide receivers. Is
We got some
Tyrella
guys.
McMillan a really good NFL wide receiver?
Yeah. Yeah. Big body, can run. And he's kind of that, Mike Evans kind of build, sort of, like I'm not saying he's going to be Mike Evans that level, but like he's a bigger guy that you can,
and his separation is.
Yeah. And you wonder, like, if you're an NFL team, do you try to run him at tight end in certain sets,
No,
because
I don't think so. I really like Savion Williams from TCU.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be off the charts. There's a lot of wide receivers this year. Tight ends, Tyler Warren's probably the best NFL tight end prospect. Although I think Gunnar Helm, Elijah Arroyo at Miami is ranked 8th in tight ends. That's shocking to me. Shocking to me. I don't know. You know what, man? I think the eye patch, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how all these shake out.
And I also think that the whole rankings thing, too, what you have to keep in mind, not to say that ESPN is somehow way off or anything, but like, they're doing this on stats, right? I mean, you're ranking these guys as far as ESPN's concerned, mostly on like stats and advanced analytics and it's not entirely wrong, but I just think when it comes to the NFL, like no matter what the position is, you're going to get more out of a guy if it's the right situation.
You got to run them through the combine still. You got to stick thermometers in wrong places.
Hugh Janus.
I think you haven't seen them in underwear running 40-yard sprints. Like, I think we have a long way to go, but it's very interesting. Perception and reality are very different.
Yeah. I mean, Ollie Gordon is a great example of this. I mean, if Ollie Gordon can have a good combine, he can come out and really show scouts that, hey, this is an explosive back who maybe had a bad year, but, he can come in and do some things. That's going to help him.
Yeah. All right, real quick, before we get to the Detroit-Minnesota game, Giggity, who's been a member for 23 months.
Nice, dude.
Happy New Year, fellas. What NFL team wants to put up with Rodgers BS for his below-average results on the field? Not many.
Yeah, and I think his toxicity in the locker room compounds that.
I agree. Ken Maynard for $5. Vrabel would be better fit for the Giants. Try to get Sanders to join Neighbors as a 1-2 punch. Jesus.
I like that. See, that's what I mean. Like when you look at the draft, if the Giants say to themselves, okay, if we fire Fathead and we go and hire Vrabel.
Fire Fathead.
Yeah. If we fire first team all Ozempic and we hire Vrabel.
God damn.
What?
First team all Ozempic.
Yeah, we all know the deal.
You're an animal.
We all know the deal. That's probably an improvement. It is. But will they do that? Probably not.
First team all Ozempic.
Yeah.
It's semaglutide, please.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Vikings, Lions. Detroit is a 2.5-point favorite.
Yeah.
First of all, there are some prize picks in this game that are redonkulous. Are you on prize picks yet? You're not? Use the promo code Monty. Download the prize picks app. I think it is the single best daily fantasy promotion I've ever seen. You deposit $5, they'll give you 50 more instantly. They've also got $25 protected plays. They're giving you a free $25 protected play right now. Go get it. Download the Prize Picks app. Here are my NFL picks this week. And I think you've got to go touchdowns. Rushing, specifically rushing, receiving touchdowns. Because there's a couple of games, and obviously Detroit and Minnesota are big games this week. First of all, which way are you leaning? Detroit or Minnesota?
Detroit. I think Detroit. I think it's going to be a really close game. But this is a game where I think the physicality of Detroit's going to allow them to overcome. I think that Detroit's offense has a lot of different ways to beat you. And I think, what Detroit's strategy is very simple. Hey, first two possessions of the game, we're going to feel out the other team. Are they going to be really aggressive on defense? Or are they going to sit back a little more? Like, what's Minnesota doing? How much disguise are they running? And from there, then I think you can kind of assess what you want to do. But ultimately, I think Detroit's commitment to running against Minnesota is going to allow them to win the game. Because that's what you have to do against great defenses. You got to run the football, and you got to be committed to it. You got to have, your backs have to have, 100, 130 yards in this game at least. And I would not be surprised if you saw 25, 30 attempts.
I think the biggest difference in this game will be that the Detroit Lions offense has really come to life in the passing game. And Jameson Williams and my guy, Tim Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
I love what Tim Patrick's giving them. I think it'll be interesting to see Amon-Ra, who should have been a Chicago Bear, but he's not. I love what they're doing. If you can get Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's on 1 touchdown, you got to take that. You got to take that. I don't think there's any doubt
that
Amon-Ra St. Brown's the guy that I would take for a touchdown. There are a couple of others that, and I don't know, you guys who do you like offensively more, Minnesota or Detroit? I don't know how you don't love what Detroit's doing offensively.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the hard part is like Minnesota. I like Sam Darnold. I like the options he has, obviously. But again, it's that whole thing where it's like, when is Sam Darnold going to have the off week? When does the week come for Sam Darnold where it's like,
maybe it doesn't.
Maybe it doesn't, right? But I think that he hasn't. I don't know. I feel like a hater saying this, but I just don't think the belief is there yet. I think that he's had a great year, clearly the best year of his career, and people are still waiting for the terrible week to come out. And I'm not saying that's going to happen against Detroit, but what I am saying is that if you're going to beat Detroit, you got to be able to out-throw that defense. You got to be able to out-execute them, and I'm just not sure that Minnesota is going to do that against them.
I think Laporta, Jameson Williams, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think that Justin Jefferson is absolutely a stud. I think you got to go him. And I think the biggest question here is who's the better quarterback? Jared Goff. You're not going to interrupt me at all.
No.
Sam Darnold or Jared Goff? Which one you want in this game?
I would take Goff, but
Goff is at 4,398 yards.
Yeah.
He's going to break 4,500 yards. And I think he gets to 38 touchdowns because I think he's got at least 2. I love Detroit in this game. It is, and listen, I get it. It is the game of the year. It is, there's so much on the line. Detroit, even with all the adversity, is 14-2. Now listen, you lost to the Bills. That game sucks. But this is the whole thing. It's national TV. It's Sunday Night Football. I'm taking Detroit in this game simply because it's at home.
Yeah, I'm going with you on Amon-Ra for 1 touchdown, rushing and receiving. I'm going to go Jordan Addison for a rushing and receiving touchdown on a demon. And I'm going to take Jared Goff to have 3 passing touchdowns in this game on a demon because I think he's going to have a big night.
All right. I like it a lot. Download the Prize Picks app.
Flex play it.
Flex play my vocal cords. Use the promo code Monty. You deposit $5, they'll give you 50 more at Prize Picks.
Yeah.
That's it. Show's over. Until Monday. Say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.